We're grateful for each and every one of you. Let us know where in the world you're tuning in from. We'd love to hear from you in the comments. Let's begin. By the time I realized my wife was slipping away, my body already knew. I started waking up before the alarm, chest tight for no reason I could explain. The house felt different, too clean, too quiet, like a stage home waiting for strangers to walk through and judge it. My name is Adrian Holloway. I built my life on consistency. Same morning routine. Same black notebook by the door. Same gym 3 nights a week. I wasn't the kind of man who chased excitement. I believed stability was the real luxury. My wife, Vanessa Holloway, used to say that was what she loved about me. Used to. Vanessa worked in corporate branding for a fast-growing investment firm. Her job came with dinners I wasn't invited to, conferences I never attended, and people whose names she mentioned casually, too casually. At first, I didn't question it. I trusted her. I trusted us. But trust starts eroding long before it breaks. She stopped asking about my day. Our conversations became updates instead of connection. I'll be late. Don't wait up. Big week coming. I noticed how she dressed differently for work. Sharper, bolder. How she checked her phone face down at dinner. How her laughter sounded fuller when she talked about the office than when she talked to me. At night, she'd lie beside me, close enough to touch, yet miles away. I'd stare at the ceiling, replaying old versions of us, wondering when love became something scheduled. I tried to fix it the quiet way. I planned weekends. I cooked her favorite meals. I listened more, talked less. I told myself marriages survive droughts if one person kept watering the ground. What I didn't know was that someone else had already planted himself there. The name came up one evening while she was brushing her hair in the mirror. Gregory Vale approved the campaign, she said casually. The way she said it, comfortable, almost admiring, made something twist in my stomach. Her boss. I'd heard that name before. Too many times. Powerful. Charismatic. The kind of man who filled rooms without raising his voice. The kind who didn't look at married women like they were married. I asked a simple question. Is he coming to the company gala this weekend? She paused. Just half a second. Of course, she said. He's hosting it. That pause stayed with me long after she went to bed. Because pauses tell the truth when words won't. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in the dark living room, scrolling through photos from the past year. Events I hadn't attended, smiles that didn't reach her eyes, angles carefully chosen to exclude certain people. That's when I saw it. A reflection in a glass wall behind her. A man's silhouette standing far too close. The next morning, I didn't confront her. I smiled. I kissed her cheek. I wish her luck at work. Because when betrayal thinks it's safe, it gets careless. And I was done being blind. The thing about betrayal is that it doesn't rush. It settles in. It rearranges your life, quietly, while pretending nothing has changed. After that sleepless night, I didn't become angry. I became alert. Vanessa left the house earlier than usual that week. Her heels clicked faster on the hardwood. Her movements sharper, rehearsed. She stopped asking if I wanted coffee. Stopped noticing if I'd already left for work. We moved around each other like polite strangers sharing the same address. I started paying attention to details I'd ignored before. Her phone never stayed in the room when she showered. Her calendar suddenly filled with vague entries, strategy sync, offsite alignment, client dinner. And when I mentioned the upcoming gala again, her energy shifted. You don't have to come if you're busy, she said lightly, eyes fixed on her laptop. That sentence told me everything. I wasn't being excluded because I didn't belong. I was being excluded because someone else already had my seat. At work, I went through the motions, meetings, approvals, numbers that used to excite me, but now felt hollow. Yet underneath that routine, my mind was running calculations of a different kind. Emotional ones, patterns, probabilities. I remembered how Vanessa used to talk about Gregory Vale. Not like a boss, like a benchmark. He's decisive. He sees potential where others hesitate. He's not afraid to take risks. Every compliment landed like a quiet comparison. I began checking publicly available records, not out of jealousy, but instinct. Gregory Vale wasn't just an executive. He was a master of optics, public philanthropy, leadership panels, articles praising his mentorship culture. Men like that didn't break marriages loudly. They did it while smiling. One evening, Vanessa came home later than usual. She smelled different. Not perfume, just something unfamiliar. Her voice was lighter, almost relieved, like she just put something down she didn't want to carry home. Long night? I asked, keeping my tone casual. She nodded. Yeah, Gregory needed extra input before the gala. There it was again. The name, spoken easily, comfortably. I didn't respond. I just watched her move through the kitchen like someone passing through a hotel room. She didn't notice me watching. That night, she didn't come to bed. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, listening to the faint glow of her laptop from the living room. At some point, the screen dimmed. A shadow crossed the hallway. She slipped into bed without a word, careful not to wake me. But I was already awake. The next morning, I found a confirmation email. She'd left her tablet charging on the counter. The screen lit up when I passed. I wasn't looking for anything. I wasn't searching. It was just there. A hotel reservation. 2 nights. 1 room. The event city. The gala weekend. My hands didn't shake. My chest didn't tighten. I felt something colder. Clarity. I took a photo of the screen. Then another. Then I placed the tablet exactly where it had been. When Vanessa walked in, I kissed her forehead and wished her a good day. That's the moment I stopped trying to save my marriage. Not because I stopped loving her, but because I finally loved myself enough to stop lying. I began preparing quietly. I reviewed financial records we shared. I organized timelines. I contacted a private legal consultant. Not to file anything. Not yet. Just to understand my position if things escalated. And they were going to escalate. The gala arrived faster than expected. Vanessa dressed carefully that night. Not provocatively. Strategically. Elegant. Confident. She looked like someone stepping into a role she'd already rehearsed. You look nice, I said. She smiled, distracted. Thank you. That was it. At the venue, the atmosphere was electric. Cameras. Applause. Long speeches wrapped in buzzwords. I stayed close to the edge, observing. Gregory Vale was exactly what I expected. Charming, composed, effortlessly dominant. He spoke to Vanessa like she was already part of his inner circle. Too familiar. Too assured. At one point, he laughed, loud enough for others to hear, and said something that made Vanessa blush. I caught the look they shared. It wasn't professional. Later, as guests began circulating, I overheard a fragment of conversation behind me. Gregory's voice, smooth and careless. She deserves better. Someone who matches her ambition. Someone laughed. That was when he looked directly at me. The smile he gave wasn't hostile. It was dismissive. The kind you give when you believe the outcome is already decided. Vanessa didn't correct him. She didn't look uncomfortable. She looked relieved. I nodded. Calmly. Respectfully. I let them walk away together. Because the strongest responses aren't immediate. They're precise. And while everyone else enjoyed the night, while laughter filled the room and confidence flowed freely, I stepped aside and made one quiet call. Not to confront. Not to argue. Not to beg. But to begin the ending. I didn't return to the ballroom right away. I stood in the corridor outside the event space, the low hum of conversation bleeding through the doors, and took a slow breath. Not to calm myself, but to focus. Everything from this point forward had to be deliberate, clean, unmistakable. I dialed Thomas Ridge, the legal consultant I'd spoken with earlier that week. It's time, I said quietly. He didn't ask questions. He didn't need to. He only replied, proceed exactly as discussed. I hung up and checked my watch. Inside, Gregory Vale had just taken the stage. His voice echoed confidently through the speakers, each sentence crafted to sound visionary, generous, inspiring. Applause followed, every pause. Vanessa stood near the front with the leadership team, posture straight, smile perfectly practiced. She looked like someone already imagining a different future, one where she'd traded steadiness for elevation. I walked back into the room. No one noticed at first. Not because I was insignificant, but because confidence like mine didn't demand attention. It waits. Gregory finished his speech to thunderous clapping. Glasses were raised. Music softened the edges of the room. That's when Evelyn Carter, one of the senior board members, stepped back onto the stage. Before we continue, she said into the microphone, we have a brief administrative announcement. Gregory's head turned slightly. Curious. Not concerned. Vanessa frowned. Evelyn nodded toward the AV booth. If we could bring up the prepare materials. The lights dimmed. A large screen flickered to life behind the stage. At first, it displayed a simple timeline. Dates, locations, metadata. Clean. Professional. No commentary. No accusations. Just facts. I saw Gregory's smile tighten. Vanessa leaned forward, confused. Then the images appeared. Nothing explicit. Nothing inappropriate. Just unmistakable. A hotel lobby. Two figures entering together. A timestamp matching the reservation on Vanessa's tablet. A reflection in glass. Two silhouettes standing far closer than professionalism allowed. Murmurs rippled through the room. Gregory stepped forward. What is this supposed to be? Evelyn didn't answer him. Instead, Melissa Grant from HR joined her on stage, holding a folder. These materials were submitted earlier today, Melissa said evenly, in response to an internal compliance review. Gregory laughed once, short, sharp. This is absurd. That was when I spoke. Not loudly, not emotionally, just clearly. The review exists because I filed it. The room went silent. Vanessa turned toward me slowly, disbelief written across her face. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. I continued. I provided verified documentation showing a pattern of personal involvement between a senior executive and a subordinate employee. The timeline aligns with corporate travel funds and event-related accommodations. Gregory stared at me now, eyes hard. You have no idea what you're talking about. Evelyn lifted her hand. We do, Mr. Vale. And we have an obligation to pause proceedings until this is addressed. A quiet gasp swept through the audience. Vanessa finally found her voice. Adrian, please. Let's talk outside. I looked at her. Really looked. For the first time in months. She seemed small. There's nothing left to say. I replied. Gregory stepped closer to me, his confidence cracking at the edges. You think this makes you powerful? I met his gaze without flinching. No. I think believing you were untouchable made you careless. Security approached. Not aggressively, just formally. Gregory was escorted off the stage for a private discussion. Vanessa remained frozen where she stood. I didn't enjoy the moment. That surprised me. I'd imagined anger, satisfaction, maybe even relief. What I felt instead was closure. Later, in a side hallway away from the crowd, Vanessa found me. You planned this, she whispered. I prepared for the truth. I said. Tears filled her eyes. You didn't have to do it like this. I finally let the weight of it show. You didn't have to do it at all. She reached for me. I stepped back. I trusted you. I continued quietly. I defended you when things didn't make sense. I gave you space because you asked for it. And you replaced me with someone who thought respect was optional. Her shoulders slumped. He promised. I shook my head. He promised ambition, not loyalty. Silence stretched between us. I'm done, I said. Not out of anger. Out of self-respect. She didn't argue. She knew. By the end of the night, the gala had dissolved into whispers and unanswered questions. Gregory Vale's future at the company was uncertain. Vanessa's reputation was fractured. And me? I walked out into the cool night air, feeling lighter than I had in years. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't insult anyone. I didn't beg for understanding. I simply refused to stay invisible. And that decision changed everything. The morning after the gala, the city looked the same, but my life didn't. Sunlight filtered through the blinds of my apartment, landing on half-packed boxes and an untouched mug of coffee. I hadn't slept much, not because my mind was racing, but because it was finally still. For the first time in years, there was no tension humming beneath the surface. No waiting, no wondering. Vanessa didn't come home that night. She didn't need to. By mid-morning, the messages started coming in. Quiet ones, careful ones. People asking if I was okay, without actually asking. People who'd watched the room change the night before and were now trying to understand how it happened so fast. I didn't reply. I met Thomas Ridge later that afternoon in his office. We spoke in measured tones, reviewing options, timelines, and next steps. Not out of spite, but closure. The end of a chapter deserves clarity, not chaos. You handled it cleanly, Thomas said. That matters. It did. Vanessa called me that evening. Her voice was different, stripped of confidence. Bare. I never meant to hurt you, she said. I know, I replied, and I meant it. But intent doesn't undo impact. There was a long pause. I thought success would make me feel secure, she admitted. I didn't realize what I was losing. I didn't argue. I didn't correct her. Some lessons have to echo before they land. Gregory Vale resigned quietly 2 weeks later. No statements. No press tour. Just a polished email thanking everyone for the opportunity. The company moved on. They always do. Vanessa took a leave of absence. I took something else entirely. I took my time back. I started waking up without that tightness in my chest. I returned to the gym, not to distract myself, but to rebuild discipline I neglected while trying to save something that didn't want saving. I cooked again. Slow meals, thoughtful ones. I called people I'd stopped calling. I laughed without checking the time. One evening, I stood in the same kitchen where I'd once waited for Vanessa to come home and realized something important. I wasn't lonely. I was free. Months later, I ran into Evelyn Carter at a charity event. She nodded politely, nothing more. No awkwardness. No pity. "You did the right thing," she said simply. I thanked her and kept walking. Because the victory wasn't public. It was internal. Revenge didn't change me. Truth did. I didn't become louder. I became clearer. And that clarity followed me into everything that came next. My work, my relationships, my sense of worth. I learned that love without respect is just habit. That silence can be strength, but only when it's chosen. And that walking away with dignity is sometimes the most powerful statement a person can make. The night they laughed at me, they thought they were ending something. They were right. They just didn't realize it was their control, not my future, that was slipping away. And I never looked back.